You have to press this one here, which is for the lights. When you press it, you'll see things start to come on, and it's only at that point that that leisure battery is engaged. So you've got a couple of buttons on the left hand side. The lowest one is for the water level, so this just gives you an indication as to the water level. Using that, you can see this is about a third full. I don't know if you can pick that up, but this line here, that indicates, yeah, it's roughly a third full. You have one for the leisure battery as well. This is an indication as to what charge it is. And lastly, you have one for the vehicle battery as well. Gives you that income. I mean, the most important ones are these two, I would say. To come back to this, once this light is on, you're able to turn the tap on. Once you press that button and this light is on, then the tap will work and the pump. Until that's on, it won't work. So if you're having any issues, this is likely to be the source. And then the last button on this display is this light button here, which is this lovely little LED strip that Camper Kid do there. So that's that. I'm going to turn that off now. So you have two options. You turn it on here. You've got the option of ventilation, which is obviously for cooling, and then for heating, which is what we tend to do most of the time. So using the dial, when you're on this screen, you can adjust the temperature that you want to set it to. So just for this, I'm going to do 25. Once that's set, you'll see you've got the green light. That means it's active and it's kicking in. And it's worth noting, the vent is underneath the driver's seat, and you can just see it here. You can feel this is starting to kick out heat. Sometimes they take a little while to get going, like it's not necessarily uncommon for heating systems, but once they get going, they're really good. A little note on this: if you're going to sleep in the vehicle overnight, if you're intent on leaving the heating on, you will wake up for really dry mouth. So maybe open the windows a little bit, because I've definitely made that mistake and woke up feeling like I've never drunk before in my life. But yeah, no, they're really good, and as I mentioned earlier, it has the cooling function as well, which is a bit more of a ventilation, which can help in the summer. But yeah, it's a very good system, and burns a very small amount of fuel, and it uses very, very little battery as well, so it's really, really good system. I'm just going to turn. With the batteries on these vehicles, most of our rental stock is only fitted with one leisure battery. If you're going to a campsite where you can hook up, there's no restrictions on how you use your electricity, because you're working off the campsites. You can do what you want. So if you plug in TVs, laptops, anything you can think of, it won't be a problem. However, if you are off-grid and you're not hooked up anywhere, it's going to be a bit of trial and error. Depending on how long you're away for, that will probably influence how much power you use. If you're just doing 1 or 2 nights, you should be fine running like a laptop on there or something like that. But if you were doing a week away, you'd probably want to really try and preserve as much power as you can. All the lights and everything that's fitted as standard in the campers is really uses a very small amount of electricity, so it's quite efficient in that respect. But things like lights and stuff, you should be fine. Really, where things start to drain the batteries when you're plugging in things. So I don't know if you had a microwave, coffee machine, or anything like that where you're drawing from power from the mains, you will find that you will use a lot of battery. But there's no real science to it. It's a lot of trial and error. All the vehicles that you'll be collecting from our rental team, they will all be fully charged, so it'll give you as much as you can get out of the battery. But it's just worth bearing in mind, and we tend to find fridges, especially when it's really hot, are the main culprit for draining batteries. So just consider it. If you're going to be off-grid for a while, try and use as little as possible. If you're going to a campsite, there's no problems. Yeah, you won't have any restrictions. So it's just something to bear in mind. But to be honest, even the most experienced camping people that go in their camper van, I think, tend to make mistakes and run out of battery. The most important thing is, because the battery is separate, if you do get it wrong and leave something on overnight and it kills the battery, you're not going to be stranded. You're still going to be able to start the vehicle and still going to be able to pull away. It's just you won't be able to use the leisure battery. One trick that we've had a few people recommend to us is, if you are off-grid for a while, in the morning or at least once a day, just turn the engine on and run it for a little bit, maybe 10-15 minutes if you can. Apparently that just helps keeping the leisure battery topped up. It's not, if the battery's flat, I don't think that'll bring it back, but it just any little thing you can do to preserve battery, I think things like that will just help a little bit. So you might find that useful.